The stadium was alive with thunderous cheers as the crowd surged with excitement, waving their fists and shouting over one another. Everyone rushed to place their bets, choosing between Lu Fan and Meng Jia, two names that had dominated every discussion leading up to this final exam. Many in the stands placed their faith in Lu Fan, calling him God Lu, remembering how he had completely crushed the secret realm of the nation. To them, a man who had conquered something so dangerous couldn't possibly falter in a mere exam. But not everyone was so certain. Another voice reminded the crowd of the leaked video from just yesterday, a video that spread like wildfire. In that footage, Meng Jia had gone head-to-head with a tough third advancement master. The scene left viewers stunned. In less than 5 minutes, bones were broken and bodies lay scattered across the ground. Her strength was undeniable, and it threw the entire stadium into doubt. This match, they realized, was far from decided. As the announcer stepped forward, the noise quieted just slightly. He declared the first fighters who would be entering the arena, and the audience leaned in with anticipation. But then came the shock. Lu Fan and Meng Jia weren't the ones stepping forward. The crowd buzzed with confusion, realizing the two strongest contenders weren't fighting each other just yet. Spectators voiced concern, noting that facing 3 opponents at once created a huge gap. They pointed out that including a life-type profession in the team only added a clear weakness. Meanwhile, Lu Fan sat calmly among the crowd, his presence steady and silent, while those around him continued to speculate. On the field, a tall man with a scarred face stood firm, his expression unwavering as he prepared for the match. Across from him, one of the challengers mocked arrogantly, warning that without fighting, Lu Fan's team would lose their #1 title. Lu Fan leaned back casually, reminding his team to step up their efforts as the battle unfolded. His words struck hard, sharpening the determination in his teammates' eyes. On the opposing side, their leader shouted orders to finish the fight quickly and prove that the Fengyan Pavilion was making a comeback. Her group responded with determination. Hearing that, Lu Fan's side smirked with confidence. They prepared to fight seriously, vowing not to let anyone look down on them. The arena fell silent for just a moment as the referee raised her hand. With a sharp command, she announced the start of the match. The crowd erupted in cheers as the battlefield came alive. Without hesitation, Lu Fan's team unleashed their opening moves. The pink-haired warrior summoned swirling torrents of water, her skill creating countless blades that shot out in every direction. The attack carried crushing force, piercing targets while slowing their movements and weakening their defenses. At the same time, the silver-haired priestess raised her staff high, summoning a blazing radiance. With a cry, she called forth starlight annihilation, flooding the field with divine light. The holy power burned through enemies, dealing continuous damage and reducing their resistance, leaving them vulnerable under the relentless glow. In an instant, the battlefield was engulfed by waves of water and searing light. The fight had only just begun, but the overwhelming power of Lu Fan's side left the stadium roaring in shock and awe. The atmosphere grew heavier as the black-haired swordswoman stepped forward, her hands glowing with power. With a sharp command, she unleashed her skill, mountain shaking. Massive blades of energy appeared in the air, carrying devastating force that spread its damage to every enemy within reach. Across the field, Fengyan Pavilion's fighters braced themselves. Their leader shouted for them to prepare, rallying the group as they surged forward with weapons drawn and magic blazing. The clash erupted instantly. Waves of power collided mid-air, water, light, and steel crashing against the incoming assault. The shockwaves lit up the entire arena, forcing even the spectators to lean back from the sheer pressure of the collision. Realizing the overwhelming impact, one of the enemy mages barked an urgent command to scatter. Their formation broke apart as they scrambled to avoid the combined barrage, struggling to withstand the crushing momentum of Lu Fan's team. The battlefield shook as explosions erupted across the arena, sending smoke and fire billowing into the air. The impact blinded the spectators for a moment, hiding the enemy's movements within the chaos. Through the settling haze, Lu Fan's teammates scanned the field carefully. One of them warned the others to stay alert, suspecting a trap. The thought of their opponents retreating so easily didn't sit right. Their instincts proved correct. From the smoke, a sudden spell struck out, binding Gianning in glowing chains of magic. Her body was instantly restrained, lifted into the air as she struggled against the imprisoning force. Shock rippled through the team. The enemy's plan was clear. Their target wasn't the group as a whole, but Gianning specifically. The sorcery locked her completely, leaving her unable to move or use her abilities for several critical seconds. The battle split into chaos as opponents clashed on all sides. The pink-haired warrior intercepted an incoming strike, while another declared with confidence that their fight was against her, not anyone else. Meanwhile, Gianning remained bound by the glowing chains, facing an enemy who sneered at her helplessness. He mocked that with her restrained, the match would be decided once she fell. But the enemy wasn't finished. Dark energy surged as his skill activated. In an instant, his body split into countless shadowy clones, each one preparing to strike with high-speed slashes aimed at her defense. For the next few seconds, their combined assault could reduce even the toughest opponent's strength. Yet, Gianning's expression didn't falter. With calm eyes, she looked at them and spoke lightly, asking if that was truly all they had. Her words unsettled her enemies, who couldn't understand her composure despite the trap closing in. The battle raged on as radiant light burst across the arena. The priestess raised her staff and unleashed starlight annihilation. Holy flames engulfed the field, burning enemies with continuous light damage while stripping away their resistance. The brilliance forced several opponents onto the defensive, their movements slowed by the overwhelming force. At the same time, the pink-haired warrior struck with her blade, casting water prison. 4 chains of water lashed out, binding one of the enemy fighters. He struggled, cursing under his breath as the chains tightened, locking him in place. His speed and strength were suppressed, leaving him unable to break free. Watching from the sidelines, one of the enemy leaders clenched his fists in disbelief. Their team was being pushed back, suppressed under the relentless assault. Meanwhile, Gianning remained bound by glowing chains, her expression calm and unreadable. The timer ticked down, only 3 seconds left before her imprisonment would end. One of the enemy fighters charged forward, declaring he would take Gianning down first. With her still bound in glowing chains, he believed victory was already within reach. But suddenly, a surge of power burst from her weapon. The sword split into countless blades, myriad flowers. Each fragment carried destructive force, raining down like a storm of golden steel. The countdown ticked closer. Only 2 seconds of imprisonment remained. Caught off guard, the enemy panicked as the storm of swords bore down on him. His desperate cries echoed as the blades closed in, shredding through his defenses. From the sidelines, another enemy watched in shock. His eyes widened as he shouted in disbelief. How could Gianning, still trapped under the imprisonment lock, possibly activate such a powerful skill? The countdown ticked away. 1 second left on Gianning's imprisonment. Her opponent lunged, blade flashing as he prepared to finish her off before the chains disappeared. But in the very next instant, the timer hit 0. The lock shattered, and Gianning was freed. Her opponent's strike cut only through the air, his attack thrown off balance as her calm figure stood unshaken. From the stands, Lu Fan observed quietly, his eyes sharp as ever. He explained to the woman beside him that the enemy had miscalculated. Gianning never relied on active skills, she used her weapon's unique effects instead. That was why the imprisonment lock had failed to restrain her power. Unbothered by the chaos of the fight, Lu Fan leaned back on the picnic mat, his tone relaxed. The woman beside him smiled gently, offering him a glass of juice she had prepared with his favorite fruits, a quiet contrast to the roaring stadium around them. From the stands, one of the older warriors scowled, scoffing at the battle below. To him, the fight was nothing but trash, a display unworthy of true warriors. But down on the field, everything shifted. The glowing chains that bound Gianning cracked apart and shattered into fragments of light. Slowly, she rose from the ground, her figure calm yet commanding. With each step forward, the aura around her grew heavier. The chains that had once imprisoned her now floated and dissolved, powerless against her presence. Her long black hair flowed as blades of energy gathered at her sides, their edge humming with lethal intent. Gianning's eyes remained steady, carrying a quiet resolve that struck more fear into her enemies than any roar of rage ever could. One of the enemy fighters surged with dark energy, preparing his next move with blades in hand. He activated Shadow Strike, splitting into multiple phantom clones ready to launch high-speed attacks. The clones surrounded Gianning from all sides, blades aimed to tear through her defenses. But Gianning remained calm, dismissing their efforts with a single cold word, calling it futile.